The main thing that you want to take away from this is like people trade value for money. So if your value is intellectual, or your value is something you can give, from what you've learned, then money is going to come in abundance. So don't worry necessarily about money, but where the value comes in. How can you grow mentally, physically, spiritually, and add more value to yourself, so when you are interacting with somebody, you can ask for whatever you want to ask for because they see the value in you. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Chris with Digital REM. Welcome back to Live and Lunch. Live and Lunch, Chris with Digital REM. In this Live and Lunch, we're actually reading the book Tools of Titans, and we're covering a chapter with Bryan Johnson. So while we give people the chance to fall up in here, who is that on the beat? That's Rockauzae. That's ROKKOUTZAE. What's up, Antoine? I see you out there. But with that being said, Bryan Johnson, who we covering in this chapter. So check that out. While we give people the chance to fall up in here, like I said before, though, our website has been being updated. So if you are in the middle of starting your business or starting your brand or getting started with anything, make sure you check us out on digitalrem.com, where you can learn how to establish your brand guideline so you can create that content. And if it's not you, you can hire somebody to create that content on your behalf. So boom, I'm gonna just turn this down a little bit, right? Throwing my thoughts off a little bit. So with that being said, actually, let me just pause it all together. So with that being said, we're going to hop right into this. We're going to keep it short, sweet, and simple. All of the above. So let's just get right into it, right? So, who is Bryan Johnson, right? He's the founder of OS Fund and Braintree. Braintree was actually acquired by eBay in 2013 for $800 million in cash. Again, we are studying some heavy hitters here. So really just picking their brains, getting their mindset, getting in the state of mind that they're in when they're this successful, right? So with that being said, he also has the OS Fund that was established in 2014, which he used $100 million of his own personal capital to support his venture. And this venture is of scientists who aim to benefit humanity by rewriting and operating systems of life. In other words, he fuels real-world mad scientists tackling things like asteroid mining, artificial intelligence, life extension, and more. He is currently the founder and CEO of Kernel and developing the world's first prosthesis. I'm not sure what that is. NonNeural prosthesis is a brain implantable computer to mimic, repair, and improve cognition, right? So with that being said, that's a long word. I have to definitely look that up. Probably have Siri tell me how to say that word. But with that being said, let's just hop right into this. This first one is called Behind the Scenes, right? This first section is called Behind the Scenes. So to inspire his kids, Bryan commissioned a graffiti artist to paint Harry Potter and this other character on the walls of his home. They were pointing their wands into this air skyward, and above them it said the words "dream." He wants to teach them at a young age just to I'm not sure how to say this name. Just as Tolkien and Rowling authored worlds using text, entrepreneurs have the ability to author their lives using companies. And again, that's exactly what I'm teaching. Like, as far as with branding, like, you have the ability to author your own life using company, leveraging what you already know, leveraging the things that you're already passionate about. You have the ability to create businesses around those things. Now, with that being said, some people get caught up with, okay, I have an idea, I'm really good at this thing, and people come to me for this thing, but I don't know how to turn that into a business. I wouldn't even understand how to, just like I was, how to remove myself from being an employee, how to remove myself from having that employee mindset, be like, you know what, I could do the same exact thing, the person who's employing me, I could do the same exact thing on my behalf, for my business, for my own brand, and things like that. And we explore how to do that at digitalrem.com. So like I continue to allude to, definitely go to digitalrem.com and just at least attend the free masterclass where we start to talk about branding. So with that being said, let's continue on, right? So that's how he inspires his kids. On regular height, this is another section in that same chapter or section. On regular hikes in San Francisco, Bryan has asked a variation of questions several times. What can you do that will be remembered 200 to 400 years? And that's to me, that's a pretty deep question, because even when I sat there all morning thinking about this, like, what could I possibly do that would impact the world for 200 to 400 years? And honestly, I still draw a blank. Like, all of the tools we currently use are, if we want to say, finite. You know, certain apps are going to go away, certain things are going to go away. So what are you able to establish now that is going to last further than those things that will go away? So it's just really, I would say, diving into like more of a spiritual thing, like what's really important to establish now, and then wrap your brand or your business around that, so you can make that a generational thing to see out to 200, 400 years. So it's really just thinking along those lines. I really love that thought. That's what I'm saying. That's why we read this book, because even thoughts like that, provoking thoughts like that, make you think further than your own lifespan, further than your current reality, further than you possibly thought of before. Like, hey, yeah, what about 200, 400 years? That's your great grandchildren's will have great grandchildren at the end of the day. So y'all get what I'm saying. It's a few generations down the line. So really just tapping into like that mindset, like, what can I do now? What can I, is your 9 to 5, you know, going to get you the paycheck so you can buy the car, so you can do so on and so forth like that, and you know, probably get the flash and things like that, or if you want to call it get the flash, but live the lifestyle. But then at the end of the day, will that impact 200, 400 years from now? Or let's say you have the lifestyle, you have the resources to tap into capital. Okay, well, with that capital, what can you do to impact the world for 200 to 400 years? That's really something to just think about, because again, once you get to a certain your cash flow comes in at a certain level, it's, you only can spend so much. So think of somebody like Bill Gates, think of somebody like, you know, Elon Musk, people that they make more money than they could possibly spend. So if you get to that stage, what could you do to impact the world 200, 400 years? And this is really just starting now, starting to manifest those ideas now. Again, I in my groups, even in my community, and people I even know, like, they say they want to get rich, but then necessarily not even taking it even further as far as manifesting, like taking it further. How do the rich think? When you're rich and your resources are coming in abundance, you start to think differently. Like, okay, well, I'm not scrapping day to day to try to pay a bill or acquire some type of liability or acquire a lifestyle, or, you know, portray a lifestyle. I'm more looking to establish something that impacts the world for generations upon generations. So with that being said, I think y'all get where I'm coming. Just that's a big mindset shifting statement that was made there. And again, it's something that you probably want to sit there and think about yourself. Again, don't feel bad, just like me. I sat here all morning thinking, like, what could I possibly do that impacts the world 200, 400 years? Because currently, I'm only utilizing the tools that are provided to me by bigger companies or bigger things. So what could I personally do to impact the world? And again, when it gets to the point where the community grows bigger, and maybe when you know, more resources are flowing in, where now more capital is being made than, you know, our expenses, then it's like, okay, how can we leverage this capital to do bigger things? And bigger things is kind of like stepping stones or a ladder. We have to go up the ladder. But again, we're building out the community so we can visit topics just like this. Like, hey, as a community, what can we all do together to impact the future generations going down the line? The impact the, you know, what's that, 2300 century, you know, 2300 century. Like, how can we impact that? That's just mind blowing to even think about 2300, but at the end of the day, you get it, right? So we're gonna go to the next section. Is it an itch or a burn? You should ask yourself this. This goes in regards to whatever you're trying to do, whatever you're trying to achieve, whatever those things you say, I want to do this or I want to do that. Is it an itch or is it a burn, right? And we're gonna clarify what the difference between the two are. I have a lot of conversations with people who want to start their own thing. And one of my favorite questions to ask is it an itch or is it a burn? If it is just an itch, it is not sufficient. It gets to this point of how badly do you want it for me. So again, it will get to this point where like, how badly do you want it? Either you're gonna quit or you're gonna, pursue or continue on. Either you're gonna quit or continue on. So how badly do you want it? Now, a good majority of people quit. A nice amount of people continue on, even though it is an itch. They're continue on like, hey, I'm gonna make this a burn. Now, how do you identify if it's a burn or an itch, right? And these are some of the scenarios that you might think of, like if I burned all my boats, right? Some people kind of say like I quit my 9 to 5 or did whatever the case may be. I went into this full-fledged like, just jumped into it and I'm just all in, right? That's essentially saying it's a burn because it has to happen or it has to happen. So, and I'm pretty sure most of y'all heard that statement or heard people say that before, like it has to happen or it has to happen. So there was no way I was going to get a job. Failure was never an option. I had to make this work. So you have to get to that point like, hey, it's not an option to fail. I have to make this work. This is not an itch. This is not something I'm gonna just put on for a second. I have to make this work, and this is gonna work. Because again, you're thinking along the lines of if it's gonna pack people 200, 400 years from now, this has to be a burn. This has to be a super burn that burns other people. It lights other people's flames, so it could be a burn for them as well. So at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, is it itch or is it burn? What you are trying to do, and that applies to so many things. You could sit there and self-reflect, but that apply to so many things. Like if you're going to if you're attending a class or going to school or whatever the case may be, and you're paying to be there, because people told you probably need to go to college or stuff like that. But you have to ask yourself, is this college thing an itch or a burn? Because also have to think, okay, after this, what am I gonna do? What is that thing I'm gonna use for the rest of my life to start the impact for the rest of my life, but then impact future generations after me? So what is that thing? And you can start that in middle school, trying to figure out what that thing is that you can impact other people, and in impacting other people you can make a bigger impact across the globe. So that being said, I think y'all pretty much get it. Like, is it an itch or is it a burn? Well, the thing you're doing, is it an itch or is it a burn? Like, I'm trying to think of something personal. Oh, like skateboarding. For me, skateboarding when I was younger, it was an itch. Like, it was something that everybody else was doing. I was interested in doing it. It was fun. But for the time being, when I started falling, and I of course started getting taller, but when I started falling, it was like, man, this is an itch. I'm done with this. Because again, it's not something that's I'm passionate about. It's not a burning thing that I have to do or I have to achieve, nor does it achieve the impact that I know I'm naturally talented at and the impact that I do want to make in the world. So again, you'll identify different things in your life to figure out if it's an itch or a burn. And the easiest way to figure out, to identify those things, especially when you're younger, it's easier because again, you might take up instruments or things like that, and you started playing the instrument because your parents probably told you to do it or whatever the case may be. But again, it wasn't that burn that's going to ignite you through the rest of your life. So again, you can kind of get a sense of what I'm saying here. Like, find what that burn is. Find that thing in your life that's that burn, and stick to that burn. Like, stick to that and see that through, and find ways to ignite other people's fire so y'all can burn together as a community. Because again, as a community, you can make a bigger impact. Looking into that 200, 400 year impact, you can really start to do it that way. So you have to find that burn in yourself so you can ignite other people to find the burn in them as well, and then y'all can grow together and again, like a flame or like a wildfire. It grows like a wildfire, makes an impact. So boom. I think I went long on that, but I think y'all really get it. Like, I just want to be very, very clear. Like, is it an itch or is it a burn? It's something. These are good questions that you just should self-reflect on, like, all the time and everything. Like, it can be relationships, it can be anything. Like, you really have to, when you're making a decision, like, you can ask yourself this for anything. Like, is it an itch or is it a burn? I'm hungry. I want to eat McDonald's today or something like that. No shots at McDonald's, but I want to eat McDonald's today, and you know that it's not good for you, or you know you probably have high, diabetes, whatever the case may be. You have to ask yourself, is it an itch or is it a burn? Yeah, I might have a taste for this, but is this going to help me? Is this going to help me progress? Is this going to see me through the rest of my life? Is it going to help me get to the goals that I'm trying to get to? You have to ask yourself, is it an itch or is it a burn, right? So boom, let's continue on to that one. I think y'all get it, right? One of the principles I consistently communicate was challenge all assumptions. The story I accompany, this is a good story, right? The story I accompanied with that was, there are 5 monkeys in a room, and there is a basket of bananas at the top of a ladder, right? And at the top of this ladder, there's a basket of bananas. But every time a monkey, I'm going to paraphrase this, but every time a monkey would climb the ladder to get the bananas, somebody would spray them. They would get sprayed with water, right? So after a while, the monkeys got the clue, like, hey, we don't need to climb that ladder, because every time we climb that ladder, we get sprayed with water, or we get disciplined, or whatever the case may be, however you want to take it, right? And this is called the 5 monkey game, by the way. And it relates to learned helplessness, which is often outdated, reinforced by others who mean well, right? So learned helplessness. So with that being said, they get sprayed when they go to the top to get the banana. They have a goal, they have a reward that they want to get, but they get sprayed. So the whole, me paraphrasing, when they start to get sprayed, now when a monkey climbs the ladder, the other monkeys pull them down, like, hey, don't, pretty much like trying to warn them, like, don't go up there because you're going to get sprayed, like trying to warn them. So they'll pull them down from getting to their goal. Now, the interesting thing about this is why it's called learned, but the interesting about this is that they will replace one of the monkeys. They start with 5. They will replace one of the monkeys with a new monkey. The new monkey would come in here. He would try to climb the ladder to get the banana. He would get sprayed, right? Boom. So then they were, again, kept doing it. They would replace one monkey with another. So then they stopped spraying. So every time the monkey climbed the ladder, the other monkeys would pull him down. They wouldn't even spray him. The other monkeys would pull him down. So then it got to the point where essentially with all 5 new monkeys, but now all the new monkeys learned that every time somebody climbs this ladder, just pull them down. And they haven't even got sprayed yet. So again, it's a learned pattern that they learned that they don't understand why they're doing. Now, I say this is very powerful, especially to people like me. I think y'all get where I'm coming back, but people like me, we've been through a lot in this country, and it's kind of like there's a learned mentality that is still being held on to. There's still learned things that are still being held on to that at this point in time, when information is out here for you, you can let it go. I know there's generational things that have been passed down, and those things that you can let go. So with that being said, you just kind of have to continue to grow and grow, but keeping in mind, like this 5 monkey games, right? Is it learned helplessness? The thing that somebody else is telling you, and they say that, which is often reinforced by others who mean well. Again, others who mean well might be your mom, your dad, your grandparents, whatever. They mean well. When they pull you from down from the ladder, they mean well, like, hey, I don't want you to get sprayed. I don't want you to get hurt. They mean well. But at the same time, it's like you have a vision, you have a goal, you have something you're trying to achieve. Again, maybe you have to get sprayed on your own. Maybe you have to just prove them wrong. Like, hey, they not spraying no more. Or whatever the case may be. I think y'all get the analogy, but they're not spraying anymore. So really, now in 2022, really thinking like, with everything, even media, even social media, even TV media, are things learned helplessness? Are things that they're still put in front of you, are they learned helplessness? Because I feel, this is my personal feeling, there's things that are being put in front of us that are kind of like you're trying to remind us something that's past. You're trying to still reinforce that learned helplessness, but it's kind of like, hey, we strong out here. So again, keeping that mindset, but then also advancing as well. So let's just go. I think y'all get it, right? And to kind of piggyback on that, he has another story called The Tiger Named Mohini. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but was in captivity in a zoo. He was rescued from an animal sanctuary, which they set him free. At the end of the day, they set him free from the animal sanctuary, took him from the zoo, set him free, put him in the wild, and because he stayed in the zoo so long, he was 20 years? 5 to 10 years in a 10 by 10 foot cage. He spent 5 to 10 years in that 10 by 10 foot cage. So when he got out into the refuge, essentially, he found a corner that he stayed and paced in the corner of the whole refuge. He had all of his acres to run and do his thing, but he stayed in one corner and walked that same 10 by 10 feet path, and pretty much like the grass was dead, all this stuff, because he in his mind had that learned, what's the term I used? Learned helplessness. He had that learned helplessness where he was in this condition for so long that when that condition was done with, he still hadn't realized that he's not in that condition anymore. He's not in that condition anymore. So again, you can tie that to where you feel that fits in. You can just sit there and think about it. You could tie that into where you see that fits in. Because again, I think there's a lot of learned helplessness that is still apparent currently. So with that being said, don't be a victim of that. And now that you have the first step is identifying it. So now that you have a way to identify learned helplessness, now you can take action on the certain things that you want to take or that you should take action on, and be like, hey, somebody's coming to you, even though they might be somebody who loves you and so on and so forth, but they come to you like, hey, you can't do that, do this, do blah 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 blah. You be like, is this? You can ask yourself, because you've identified what it is, what it may be. You can ask yourself, is this learned helplessness, or is this actual factual information that I can run with? Is this something that I can run with, or is this learned helplessness that's something that's based off of something that was of the past, or based off of something out of fear of something that was in the past? So with that being said, I think y'all get it. Let's go. All right, so we have about one or two more highlights, right? Real quick. Actually, it ties right into what we were talking about. What past limitations, real or perceived, are you carrying baggage? So if there's limitations that you're still carrying baggage from, identify those. Like, hey, I'm still hurt from a past relationship. I'm still hurt from growing up in this type of lifestyle. I still have fear fear in this part of my life, because this is how I grew up, or I still have concerns about this thing because this is how I grew up. I still have a fear of financial risk because I grew up without. So it's kind of just tying all of those things together and really doing some self-reflecting. Again, meditation is key. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I meditate all the time, or I'm a super meditator and things like that. But I know sometimes just sitting in silence, just not listening to social media, not watching your phone, not just sitting in silence in nature and just listening to the birds or whatever the case may be. Sometimes new revelations come about yourself that you realize about yourself. You can ask yourself these questions. You can explore these questions, and that's super beneficial as far as growth in general. Again, before you can monetarily grow, you have to mentally grow to you have to be able to mentally grow before you can monetarily grow. And you might be asking, that don't make no sense, because I know a lot of people who have money who aren't ignorant, or whatever the case may be. Sorry for lack of better terms, I use the word ignorant loosely. So, but I know people with a lot of money who knows how they get theirs. But again, the main thing that you want to take away from this is, like, people trade value for money. So if your value is intellectual, or your value is something you can give, from what you've learned, then money is going to come in abundance. So don't worry necessarily about money, but where the value comes in. How can you grow mentally, physically, spiritually, all it, and add more value to yourself? So when you are interacting with somebody, you can ask for whatever you want to ask for because they see the value in you. So at the end of the day, you can ask for whatever monetary amount that you want to ask for your time, because now they see the value in you. And it's the same thing. You want to grow mentally before monetarily, and not vice versa, and get it confused. So again, exploring some of these things, maybe out in nature, meditating, stuff like that, it will help you to grow mentally. Books, for sure, help you grow mentally, right? And then for the last highlight, which I am going to leave a comment on, or I'm going to leave a comment, a tweet about, is oftentimes everything you want is a mere inch outside of your comfort zone. So test it. Like it's simply a mere inch outside of your comfort zone. And I've seen that for myself. I've seen that for other people. Again, sometimes when it's like it's intimidating to step out on faith, or step out on whatever you want to call it, but step out and take action or do that thing that's uncomfortable. But once you do that thing that's uncomfortable, it propels you to do more things that are usually uncomfortable, but also it sends you into a trajectory that you've never explored before, where you can now start to open new doors and start to find new keys to your goals. So with that being said, do that one thing that takes you closer to your goals. Like I always say, hey, do that one thing that takes you closer to goals. But the one thing that I always say is go to digitalrealm.com, get your sign up for the free masterclass. It's Thursdays at 7 p.m. Sign up for the free masterclass where we go over branding. So how to brand yourself, the difference between brand and branding. So a lot of people get it mixed construed with it's just the logo and things like that. Well, it's how you talk to your audience. It's who your audience is, identifying them, things like that. So you can make more impactful content to speak to your audience. If you're selling merch, if you're offering a service, if you just want to be motivational, whatever the case may be, tapping in that class will help you to achieve that. Well, but yeah, so go to digitalrealm.com and tap in it and get that like ASAP. But with that being said, hey, more than anything, more than just doing that, do the one thing that takes you closer to your goals. Like I always say, all y'all have a blessed day. Later, y'all. Peace. All right. Boom. And I didn't even turn on my backlights, but it's okay. All right, so there it is.